New friend. I recently took up the hobby of playing Words with Friends. I'm not the most tech-savvy, and the premise of the game appealed to me and kept my mind busy during idle hours. One evening, after a particularly troubling day and a few overfilled glasses of wine, I decided to play a few rounds while the TV played in the background, beckoning for my attention with pale blue light. I noticed there was someone new in my opponents. His selfie gave way to kind eyes and a nice gleaming smile. I didn't hover too long before initiating the game and making my first turn. Amazingly, I played a 50-point word, and as I set my phone down, I felt a mild flare of excitement. I entertained the idea of the handsome stranger, impressed and intrigued and hopefully willing to play. I never let my relationships get very far, and the lead-up is always more entertaining. I was staring blankly at my TV, lost in thought, when my phone screen caught the attention of my peripheral. It was Words with Friends. My new foe had played me back and sent me a message. I let the phone lay unattended for a while before my curiosity guided me to the app's home screen. I clicked on his game and read his message. I hoped he would start a game with me. I've been waiting for someone like you to give me a challenge. The message was off-putting, but part of me longed for someone to challenge me intellectually and provide me even the slightest bit of mystery and wit. So I typed back, "Is that how you say hello? Tell me Words with Friends doesn't take up so much real estate in your life." He replied instantly. I couldn't even leave the app before a string of words appeared on the screen. LOL. No. It's hard to find people who care about words. It's hard to find people who care about anything. I got excited. To this I raised my eyebrow. I often felt alone, and the alcohol made his words resonate with me more than usual. He seemed vulnerable, lonely. We continued to exchange banter, and after several heated games, we were tied for a championship. Even through just text, he read my emotions well and knew how to make me laugh. It seemed effortless, and my body was light and buzzed from the game and spirit. In a swift moment of bravery, I decided we should play in person, at my place, the following night. I had a Scrabble board and intended to make him taste defeat in front of my eyes. He agreed, and we made the arrangements as I dozed off on my couch. The next day was a blur of anticipation coupled with tension and nerves. Being a psychiatrist requires me to be attentive and present. I found it difficult to follow along with the research being presented to me. When I got home, I felt frazzled. This man was pulling me out of my groove. Something about him was so familiar, yet I didn't feel comfortable. Not that I was uncomfortable, just on edge, waiting for his next move. His knock came earlier than I expected, and I was forced to accept the current outfit I was trying out. I pulled open the door and placed my weight on my heels, leaning back. He was standing uncomfortably close to the entrance. His cologne wafted by my nostrils, and the pine elements relaxed me. It was natural and welcoming, and his smile and embrace soothed my anxiety. "Well, hello. Come in. I don't bite." He smiled and moved swiftly past me, taking in my apartment, studying everything, studying me. I had a little table set up with the board game and 2 glasses of champagne, their fizzes and pops breaking the silence. "This is perfect. I'm so glad the hospital could spare you tonight," he said, sliding into one of the chairs. He said it so casually I almost didn't notice. How did he know I worked in a hospital? I racked my brain trying to remember if I had told him. I was sure I hadn't when he spoke again. "Something wrong, Jeanette?" "I guess I'm not used to people listening to me," I said, half to convince him and half to convince myself. He shrugged and slid his tiles along the board, chuckling to himself. I glanced down. He played Outfox. I jotted down his points and examined the board myself, periodically glancing up at him. He was always staring back at me, inquisitively. I felt like I was under a microscope. "Do you wear contacts now? I always liked your glasses." My eyes flashed up again, and I almost jumped out of my seat, paralyzed with fear. The energy had shifted, and I felt my hair stand up, cursing myself for being so naive. He leaned back in his chair, and the light casted a shadow on his face. He looked different. His eyes were now ablaze. He wasn't angry. He was almost shuddering with glee. There was a smile spread wide across his face, his teeth gleaming in the low light. My chest felt hollow, yet I felt every beat of my heart. The moment felt years long as he downed the rest of his champagne glass, basking in the fear exuding from my side of the board. I shakily attempted to stand up, pushing the table over frantically in an effort to buy myself time, 30 seconds even. The door couldn't be more than 50 feet. I commanded my body to move, forcing my legs to run, completely detached from the moment. I heard his chair fall to the floor and the sound of his echoing boots across the tile. How long had it been? Was he close? Just a few more seconds and I'll be there. My hollow chest continued to propel me forward, beating a steady, ominous rumble. The door was just beyond my fingertips. Leaping for the door, I let out a scream that came from my core. Only I didn't hear a sound. His cologne wafted into my nostrils unwelcome. It was now pungent and vile. It overwhelmed my senses as I faded into an enveloping black. I sat back and admired my work. The different textures, liquid, solid, splattered, and fluid. It was beautiful. The once elegant white walls cascaded in red, thick in some places and translucent in others. The smell of death hung in the air. It creeped into my nostrils and seeped between the folds of my brain like poison. Today I wasn't going to let my guilt ruin my moment. I had waited so long to feel the power and control over such a delicate and intricate mind. I turned to look in her mirror, dragging my fingertips over the thick droplets of blood covering my elated expression. My smile made me laugh. What a sight! Behind me I could see Jeanette, lifeless and condemning, body leaning against the stained white couch. Her eyes were still shocked. They cemented her last moments in haunting fashion. I felt lucky to have a moment of history as I removed the head from the beautiful corpse and tucked it away into my bag. Intelligence was rare and gleaming. To be around her wasn't enough. Her intensity needed to be captured, harnessed, and preserved for eternity. Oh, Jeanette, I'll think of you fondly, and remember your ability with words forever. Even in death, her revelations on this life brought a tear from my eyes that flowed down my cheek, now watery and diluted. My second taste of freedom. My father always said your first taste of freedom is learning how to ride a bike. I was a late bloomer in that aspect, not learning to ride until about 8 years old. I remember the freedom and euphoria pulsing through my veins. I eagerly filled my lungs with the cool air whipping past my face. It was very free, simple, and pure. My father said your second taste of freedom was driving your first car. He had driven an old truck that he installed deep, thundering bass speakers in and called Rooster. Like many other things in life, I wanted to follow in his footsteps and drive something unique and my own. I was 18 and had just gotten my license. I'd been walking to and from work at a local grocery store and finally saved up enough to buy something decent and used from Craigslist. After work one day, I tossed myself onto the couch and propped my feet up, looking through what was available for under $5,000. In time, I had messaged a handful of people and lost a little faith in humanity. When I was almost ready to give up, I noticed a little cute Volkswagen Bug. It was yellow and had a rustic feel. It was perfect, and impulsively, I called the buyer before even finishing the ad. To my relief, what sounded like an older woman answered the phone in a quiet, warm voice. I smiled and felt the anticipation and excitement building in my stomach. Hello. Hi, I'm calling about your car you have for sale on Craigslist. I hope it's still available. Her voice perked up, and suddenly she seemed much happier. Oh yes, it's available. It's my son's car. He's in the military and doesn't have much use for it anymore. He really loves the thing and kept it up. Well, that's great to hear. If you wouldn't mind, I'd love to check the vehicle out in person. Oh sure, sweetheart. You can just come by the house. It's in the driveway, and I can give you the keys for some collateral so you can test drive it. Just give me a shout when you're heading over. I replied that I would and set my phone down to hop in the shower and get refreshed for the night's outing. When I returned to my phone, there were dozens of messages there to greet me. I furrowed my brow, watching the progression from friendly to slowly more daunting, tormenting, and demanding. She started off inquiring where I was, saying how excited she was that the car was going to a good home. The messages got angrier as she took my lack of response as disrespect. She was raving about the younger generation and their lack of respect. I was creeped out and preferred to avoid too long of an interaction with her. I really wanted the car, and my impulse was overriding my logic. I wanted to plaster my stickers on the rusted paint and feel the wind in my hair with the crazy lady far in my rear view. I attempted to shrug off her callousness in my response and just apologized for not responding and told her I'd like to head over now if that was okay. My phone buzzed while I slid it into my pocket, and I knew she'd already responded. I slipped my shoes on, figuring she was just giving me the go-ahead and sending me her location. Once I had finished getting ready, I typed her address into the Lyft app and waited before meeting my driver out front. The sun was beginning to set and followed my Lyft ominously, like it was foreshadowing the coming interaction. I was enveloped in darkness by the time the tires crunched along her dirt driveway. I saw the Bug lit up under the headlights and bounced out of the car excitedly, thanking the driver. Quickly, I headed over to the car, running my fingertips along the worn yellow paint. The door was unlocked and creaked open as the porch light in the front door of the small house sprung to life. The old woman used a cane to take a few steps and stare into the darkness at me. It felt like we were making eye contact, though I knew she couldn't see me. "Hey," I called out, shaky-voiced. "I'm over here, by the car." She nodded and made her way slowly down the steps, moving tiredly over to meet me. "So what do you think?" she shouted as she approached. "It's nice. I'd like to start it and see how she runs. Would I be able to take it around the block?" Sure. But I'm going to need some collateral, so I know you'll come back." "Right. Okay. How about my keys?" "That works. The keys to the bug are in the ignition waiting for you. I was planning on joining you, but I'm feeling drained tonight. Don't be gone too long." I tossed her my keys, and she moved out of the way, positioning herself to watch me back out and disappear down the street. Long after I had taken the car, I still felt her eyes watching me through the pitch-black trees on either side of the road. I breathed a sigh of relief to be alone and sunk into the seat, trying to get a feel for the way the old bug handled. It was barren in this area, and I was thankful that she ran like a dream. We coasted down the country roads, listening to the crickets and frogs in the night. I was making a U-turn to head back when a wire suddenly collapsed around my neck, drawing my breath short. I gagged and tried to move my head forward, but I was constrained with my head pressed tight against the seat. "Don't fucking move." My body tensed, and I obeyed, hoping my breath would return soon. He tightened his grip and commanded me to keep driving. I couldn't see him in the dark back seat, but his hands were worn and rough. The wire cut into my skin, and I blinked hard to remain conscious, gripping the steering wheel with white knuckles. "I bet you're confused. I like to explain what's happening to my victims. I love the whole process, I really do." He ran his fingers down one side of my cheek, and the wire loosened enough for me to breathe. "The world forced me to be this way. Mother is only keeping me regulated. It's a necessary evil. I get to kill one person every year. This is very special what you're doing. Very special." I felt him lean forward and sniff my hair, causing me to shudder. His breath reeked of alcohol, and his voice gave way to an older man. It was deep and raspy. No, I understand you," I spat out frantically, trying to take one of my hands off the wheel to pry the wire from my neck ever slightly. "I think it's brave to restrain yourself all year. You're so brave and courageous." I knew insulting him would get me nowhere. Maybe fluffing his ego would buy me time to escape. "It's a shame you have to do it all alone. Aren't you lonely carrying this secret by yourself?" He was silent for what seemed like hours before he yanked the wire tighter, and I gasped in agony. "Don't lie to me," he snarled in response. In truth, it wasn't my best acting, yet the last pull caused me to lose control of the car, and I felt us sliding into the opposite lane, before flying into the grass that lined the highway. He cursed and struck the back of my head hard enough to send stars past my vision. I heard him climb out of the car, followed by the familiar creak of my door. He yanked me out of the driver's seat, tossing me into the field with ease. I scrambled to my feet dizzily, seeing 5 of him in my vision. I ran with what energy and stability I had, clambering into the middle of the street to get anyone's attention, anyone's help. I was screaming frantically as I saw a light approaching over the hill. The man stopped short of following me into the interstate and opted for hopping in the bug and screeching along the field into the darkness. I breathed a sigh of relief as my face was illuminated by flashing blue and red lights. The officer got out of his car, and it was over as quick as it had begun. A word of advice and a warning to others: never meet anyone alone, and never ignore your gut. It's been a full year, and I'm finally ready to look for a vehicle again. Today I logged onto my Craigslist account, and I had a new message. I thought it was strange. When I clicked, my blood turned cold. It was a link to an ad, and I could see the first line: "Yellow Volkswagen for sale. My son is leaving for the military." Hey guys, I just wanted to hop in on the end right here and say thank you again for watching and showing support. Leave me a comment, subscribe, and we'll speak again soon. Thank you. Bye. Boo, bitch. Gotcha. Okay, bye for real now.